Welcome back to my channel, everybody. And let's see what we can do today. I've been struggling with this issue for a while, and then I decided to do this video. I'm not sure how clear or informative it is going to be, but let me try. First of all, right now you're looking at a very nice machine, which is a TEAC A-3300SX. It is one of very few machines I have in my stable that are low speed and 4-track. I think I may have just a couple of them. And I like this one. I sold a bunch of others because I didn't like them nearly as much. I'm not gonna mention any names, but they were highly recognized names as well. This one, for some reason, is attractive to me. I like its front panel layout, its functionality. It has very nice control, and the tape handling is very good. Of course, being a consumer machine, it only supports 9.5 and 19 inches per second, or centimeters per second, I'm sorry, which is fine for this type of a machine. And like I said, it is a 4-track recording and playback tape recorder. It's got very nice logic control here. And the keys work very well. So there is a lot of stuff to like about this machine. It's also very robust. And this particular sample has very low wear on its heads. However, I would like to calibrate this machine, except I wasn't able to get the manual for this model because the Hi-Fi house seems to be down at this point. I had this manual somewhere, but I can't find it. But anyway, this machine is not really the subject of today's video. The subject is essentially what you see here. Those two toggle switches marked bias and EQ. And you constantly will hear those terms, EQ, bias, and whatnot. And sometimes people don't appreciate what it is and what exactly they do to your recording. So today I'll give you a little bit of a primer in that regard. What I'm gonna do is I will take this machine and I will run a couple different tapes on it. And I will be putting this recorder in different configurations using those switches. You see there are 2 switches, so there is a total of 4 combinations you can get. And like I said, this machine has not been calibrated recently, and definitely not calibrated for the modern tapes. Unfortunately, I don't have any old-fashioned tapes to try it on this machine, so we'll have to look at what it can do with more modern formulations. But basically the idea is to show you the results of different EQ and bias settings. Because properly setting those switches for your recording is very important. And today we're going to make it visible. Nothing works like a graphical presentation, and that's what we'll try to do today. So at this point the recorder is running, and we have those 2 switches set to their 1 and 1 position. It is one of the 4 positions that we're going to be trying. And the tape is running continuously because I have the whole reel. I don't have to stop it, start, and so on. I'll just keep playing it while taking different scans. And let's see what we get from this first position. I just have to press the start button and the system will go. I don't like this blue color. Let me change it to green so it would be more visible. And you can immediately start making some observations. You can say that these upper frequencies are overemphasized to some degree. How much? I would say about 1 dB from 1 kilohertz reference point. Okay, that's not too much. For most tape recorders, this would be perfectly acceptable. And this is not even high class machine. It is a consumer model, as I mentioned before. But let's see what other settings will do. The second one will be 2-1. Let me go to append and we make another run. As you can see, the curve is very, very different this time. I just changed the bias setting. The bias went to lower position. And we can immediately make some observation. I'll let it finish first, okay? So first of all, you can see that the drop from high frequencies to middle is more now. It's about 1.5 dB. And it all happened because we dropped the bias. And essentially, this is the main effect here. The more bias you have, the stronger your attenuation of high frequencies. So if you feel like it is overemphasized, you would like to add a little bit more bias. Unfortunately, on this machine is not set up for high bias tapes. What we are running now at this moment is the Capture 930 tape. It's a modern tape. So it really, what you can say from looking at this chart, you can say that it would like to get a little bit more bias. And I agree. This curve could be brought down a little bit more than here to become a little bit more flat, but that needs a little bit more bias. And like I said, this particular electronics in this tape recorder is not capable of producing more. So let's now go switch to another possibility. I'll switch to 1-2. So I go to previous bias, but I also change the equalization circuit setting. Let's see what kind of effect it produces. I don't like green on green, so I'll change the color to magenta. Well, you can kind of tell that this curve is not very different from the first curve we had, but it has more of an increase, more of the high frequency boost, which is not what we like. We would like to go back to this one, which was 1-1 setting. Right now we have 1-2. But we still have another one left, which is 2-2. And let us see what it gets us. Well, this may be, very well maybe the worst curve we got out of 4 possibilities. I'll stop the machine. If you look at those 4 curves, it's kind of difficult to see now that the green one is probably the smoothest. So let's turn the other traces off. And this is our green trace. It's not bad at all. I would say overall it's pretty good curve. especially for the consumer grade tape recorder. The high frequency cutoff point is on the order of 16 kilohertz, which is fine. This bump here, I cannot explain it. It looks like a typical head pole shapes situation. But this is a very large peak for low tape speed. Usually you start getting those type of pronounced peaks at 30 inches per second speed. Right now we're running only at 7.5. Why it is this way, I don't know. It is basically the design of this particular head. There is nothing I can do about this. As you can see, it's present in all the charts. And it is not a line interference, because this happens around 70 hertz. 60 hertz would be here, and it's clean. I already checked. There is no hum in this machine. So whatever it is, it's way it goes. Once again, if you go down to the single curve, I would say it's respectable. This is not a pretender. It doesn't pretend to be a high-grade machine. It's a good grade consumer tape recorder. And I would say with this type of combination of tape and settings, which were 1-1 in this case, it's very, very nice. You can use it. I would not be ashamed. So this was my capture tape. And now we're gonna go to this. I like this tape very much. It's also fairly modern. It's not really old in terms of its formulation. So let's see what kind of result we're gonna get with that tape. And so now I have the BASF tape on the machine. And it is running in the 1-1 configuration. Bias switch is up, and recording EQ switch is also up. Just like last time, this was our first position. So let's see what it produces. Well, this is not a bad curve. Just like last time, the first setting gave us very reasonable high frequency response on the order of 1 dB rise. And if you're talking about different machines with different specifications, then if you fit into plus or minus 2 dB band, that's usually considered excellent. In fact, many professional machines are designed to fall into that window. For consumer grade recorders, sometimes you will see plus minus 3 dB. That's very broad band. And here we have nothing like that. We are actually quite good. Remember, each division here is 1 dB. So again, this is our first setting. Let's go to the second one, 2-1. So the bias has been reduced, equalization remains the same. Let's see what it gives us. Again, that nasty blue color, which is not very visible here, will change to yellow. I forgot to say that right now we are recording and playing it back simultaneously. So the signal is applied to the input of the tape recorder, it's recorded on tape, and the playback head reads it right away. And our frequency range is from 20 kilohertz going down to 20 hertz. That pretty much covers all the normal bands. Well, how do you feel about this yellow line? If you apply the standard or kind of standard plus or minus 3 dB criteria, it would fall well within that band. It would give you very heavy high frequency boost, very noticeable, but some of you might like it actually. I know people who use equalizers to boost high frequencies because they have substantial loss of high frequency hearing. That usually comes with the age. So the older you become, the more you tend to appreciate slight boost in the high frequency area. To me, that's a mistake because it's an error. I think you're better off learning to live with it rather than try to artificially compensate. But be it as it may, so what we have now, the second curve, which is yellow, is definitely not as smooth as the first one was. So let's keep going. Let's go to 1-2 position. Remember last time it was not quite good. Let's see what it does it for this tape. Well, let's get rid of this yellow one, which is obnoxious, it's bright, it doesn't let us see the rest. I would say the magenta trace is still better one than this one. This one is not bad. You have about 2 dB boost in high frequencies and the same general character in low frequencies, which we have seen before. Nothing to say about this area. It remains constant, and normally your equalization and bias do not affect this area. That's why I'm concentrating on the area from 1 kilohertz all the way up. Well, this is definitely not the best curve, but let's see what other final one produces. Well, that's even worse. You see now the boost is over 3 dB at high frequency, which is not acceptable. I would say let's get rid of the cyan. Yeah, the green one is not acceptable. So I would definitely say let's see all the curves at once, and you can definitely say that the magenta one, this curve, is the smoothest. Once again, there it is. And let's go back and repeat it. Who knows, maybe something changed in the meantime with the machine. Let's see how repeatable it is going to be. Well, it turns out it's quite repeatable. So I think we can take this number and go with it. And that's not a bad curve, especially if you want to make it look slightly better. So you go to 0 and minus 26, maybe 30, and then it becomes even smoother. Of course, I'm cheating. I compressed my vertical scale, so now you're talking about 2 dB per division, but the curve doesn't look bad at all. So why am I saying all this? The reason is actually very simple. Because this is the information you're supposed to know. Yes, sometimes it comes down to the choices of tape you're using on a particular machine, and you have to use which combination of the tape recorder and the tape will produce the best result. Yes, there are other considerations as well. So the frequency response flatness is not the end of the story. You can easily imagine the case when the tape is very smooth in frequency response area, but it just doesn't sound right. In this case, do you go to the tape that possibly is not the right tape for the machine, but that one sounds better to your ears? It may be sounding smoother for whatever reason. I would say it's your machine, your tape. Definitely do what pleases you. But the point of this video is to give you some information so you could be making more reasonable decisions, more informed decisions, if you will. Now, does it make your life easier or more complicated? Yes, definitely it makes it more complicated. Some of you might recall that if you buy consumer-grade machines from the early 70s or 80s, many of them come with a tape or table of different tapes and corresponding settings on the machine. And that was great at the time. But today, most of those tapes are not available, and you're going to be using whatever you have on hands. And for this reason, if you could measure the tape performance, that would give you very, very good information. And no, you don't need a fancy test system like this one to measure it. You can get the results similar to what I'm obtaining today by simply using a signal generator and a voltmeter. In essence, all you need to do is couple measurements. One measurement here at 1 kilohertz. Some people go for 400 hertz, whatever it is your reference frequency going to be. It's up to you. I usually use 1 kilohertz for this type of measurement. So anyway, one measurement at 1 kilohertz and one measurement at 10 kilohertz. And those two measurements will pretty much give you almost the whole story about bias and EQ adjustments. So that's it for today. Let me know if you found this video informative or interesting, and let me know if you have any questions. I just scratched the surface of this big subject because it naturally invites questions about the calibration and other things which are outside of the scope of today's video. So with that, I hope to see you next time. And for now, goodbye.